Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Women's Council Collin County Live. It is my pleasure today to introduce my co-host, JC Pitts, and our featured strategic partner, Ms. Adrienne Kirby. Ladies, come on.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
I have to start with saying, first of all, back in 2019, I was attending an event at CCER for the Love of Members. That is where I had the opportunity to meet Miss Adrienne, and she is the one that introduced me to Women's Council. So you meet people that you never thought you would meet, be on a path that you never thought. We were talking earlier, just how Women Council empowers you to do things that you necessarily wouldn't have. So I'm going to let JC go ahead and start with conversation, and we'll go from there.
Hi, Adrienne. We're so happy to have you, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better. Tell us something about your story. Like, how did you get involved in mortgage industry?
So I've been in the mortgage industry almost 22 years, and I initially didn't want to get into the business at all, but my sister-in-law was a mortgage loan officer and needed help, and she'd been trying to get me to work with her, and I was like, no, I don't think so. And she said, well, will you just come work for 1 month and get me organized? Because I'm real organized. So I went and helped her, and I was hooked. I loved it. I love helping people get into homes, and yeah.
So wow. So she knew exactly how to hook you in and get you going.
Right, the same way WCR does. Will you come help us?
Yeah, I heard how you were the recruit for Shannon. Is that right?
Well, I invited her to come. We didn't have anybody with inspection as a strategic partner, and that's an awesome, niche to fill. So yeah, invited her to come attend and join.
That was the beauty because I think Women's Council, being invited to Women's Council, yes, I was already involved in CCER, DLR, MetroTax, but it just introduced me to people that I didn't necessarily know. And it was cool just to watch as I joined with Amerispec as an inspection company here locally in Dallas. We were new. Sherry had just taken over the local franchise, but, just get our presence back out there. But Women's Council made it very easy to interact and be in front of people. And the beauty of it is everybody was real. It wasn't about a competition. It was just like, hey, let's help one another. And how can we be better? So that's kind of the beauty. And that's kind of what we're known for, is being a network of successful realtors, advancing as business leaders and, as a realtor, as well as our partnership with our strategic partners. So that's the beauty. And like she said, a few months down the road, you get tapped on the shoulder. But that's the cool thing too. You grow into things that you never thought you would have grown into.
Yeah. And the thing about WCR, I think you get to deepen the relationships. You really get to know people because it's a lot of one-on-one stuff, and so it really strengthens those relationships and bonds.
Yeah, it's more like a sisterhood is what you hear a lot of people say, and Shannon was instrumental in hooking me back on because I had sort of dropped off. So Adrienne, look what you did.
What was it? The snowball effect?
Yes, the snowball effect. It's Adrienne's fault. Adrienne, tell us a little bit about your family and the things that you like to do for hobbies, recreation, stuff like that.
So I'm a widow. I have 3 children and 2 stepdaughters. I have 6 grandchildren. I love to travel. I love to read. And I love spending time with my grandkids and family. I like doing anything adventurous. So I have a motorcycle license. I love to skydive. I had 2 clients give me flying lessons so I could experience learning how to fly a plane. Those were clients of mine that I closed their loans, and that's what they gave me as a gift. Yeah.
That's amazing. I would have never known. Yeah.
So have you taken your lessons yet?
Yes. And I won't get my license, I don't think, but it was really very cool to fly a plane. and
Wow.
yeah.
What an experience. And I didn't know that you were so adventurous, skydiving and flying airplanes. Wow. That's something else.
And she's got a classic car too.
Whoa.
I do. I've got a 1966 Ford Thunderbird convertible.
Okay, I've got to know, what color is it?
It's the original blue with the white top.
Sounds gorgeous. Sounds gorgeous. Well, you've told us about some of your passions. That would be a passion, is the cars and motorcycling. Wow. That is, I don't know how you find time to do all these things, but that's amazing.
Well, the car I take out about once a month. You just have to drive it around and start it, because it's not like I would go park it anywhere if I do it and swap out. But yeah, so I pretty much hang out with my family, and we do stuff, take vacations. We just got back from Destin last week, and and then we're going to Padre next month, and yeah.
Oh, fun.
Did you guys take a driving family trip? Because I saw some of your pictures.
Yes, we drove.
So any fun adventures along the way?
No. It was a pretty smooth, nice drive.
Is this with the grandkids?
This is one of them.
Oh, are we there yet? Sort of thing.
She's really my grandkids are great travelers. Like, they have traveled forever in cars, and I've taken them to, like, my grandson and my granddaughter to New York, and I took my grandson and my great nephew to spring training out in Arizona a couple of years ago for the week, and so they are used to traveling, so they don't really do that. Are we there yet?
That's awesome. I need to loan my grandson out to you. Train him where I don't hear that.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your mortgage products that you offer.
So I'll tell you a little bit about Gateway, which because we're kind of I think a unique company. We are founded, we've been in the business 21 years, based out of Oklahoma is our corporate office. Our founder is actually the governor of Oklahoma currently.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
And it's has a great culture, very family oriented, Christian based. It's like home. Like, I probably get recruited. I get recruited every day. I mean, I get a call at least every day, to go somewhere else. And I'm like, no, I'm not going anywhere. Very happy. So we have originate in 41 states. So I can do Texas plus the other states.
Oh, wow.
We service the majority of our own loans, which means that we underwrite to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guidelines without a bunch of overlays. So you'll hear somebody say, I didn't qualify for a mortgage because my DTI was over 45%, or my credit score was 640 or 620. Well, just because another lender, they have that overlay because they're going to be selling it to an investor. They have to underwrite to all the investors. But since we service the majority of ours, we just underwrite to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guidelines. So we can do a lot of stuff other people can't.
Wow, that is good to know.
We have local in Dallas, underwriting, processing, our closing departments here. We have a full construction department. So we do permanent construction loans. We do rehabs, both conventional and FHA renovation loans.
Refis.
Are you working with individuals or doing this, or are you working with developers?
Those are individuals. So if you wanted to buy a piece of land, build a house, we would loan you the money for both.
Well, you might have to travel a while to get some land, but what was it? I'm from north of McKinney, and somebody had posted another women's council last week, and she's going up to look at some new homes in Van Alstyne, which is where I'm from. I'm like, that just blew me away. And my nieces in Anna, my sister and nephew are in Sherman. As I was driving last week, I'm like, $500,000 homes up north of McKinney. I'm like, are you at least on an acre, or what are you getting? But it just kind of blows my mind just to see the Metroplex, how it keeps expanding, and just kind of getting a little crazier. So with all of the pandemic stuff last year, did that affect you, or how was 2020 for you?
So 2020 was probably the best year ever. I mean, it was a great year. Great year. I mean, 2020, yeah. I love what I do, and I love my job and my business. So to me, every year is great. But we had record volume in 2020. Almost every lender did, just like some of the realtors. We had a lot of refinances because rates were so good, but a lot of purchases. I think we paid like our corporate staff, I want to say in the first like 6 months after COVID, they paid over 6,000 hours of overtime just because we were so busy. Because when you get that busy that fast, you can't hire somebody and train them at the same time. I mean, they did hire, at one point they hired 20 underwriters. But yeah, it was a crazy, crazy busy year.
Well, that's the cool thing too, because we've, Women's Council, as you know, we've partnered with several of our networks. And last week we started, the 13 Network started the conversation back in April when Charlie Doppler had challenged as president of NAR, National Association of Realtors, to take the diversity challenge. And it was interesting. So I'm going to ask this question. WFFA Channel 8 has done a series about banking below 30 and just the redlining and things of that. What has Gateway experienced, or what is something Gateway is doing, working with local communities to make them better and help those communities to grow?
So Gateway does a lot of charitable contributions, fundraisers, working in the areas, building. They've built some parks, things like that. We have a program, an in-house program for all employees. It's called Gateway Gives Back. And if we volunteer, we log our hours, and even corporate staff, it's everybody. They can do it even during working hours. So you can take off to go volunteer. You log your hours, and they actually give a monetary donation to our bank. It's like my portal. And then we are allowed to give that money to whatever charity we would like. So for example, the first quarter of this month, I gave $250 to the Mesquite Santa Cop program for toys for this coming December. So they really promote giving back to the community and things like that. We also are huge sponsors of Folds of Honor. Are you guys familiar with that?
I've heard about it.
The flag.
You probably seen the flyer at Quick Trip. Okay, so Folds of Honor is an organization that was started by a pilot in the military up in Oklahoma, and they give money to fallen soldiers, family and children for college. They give college scholarships, a lot. So for every loan we close, we give a portion of money to that. And I think last year it was like almost $300,000.
Wow,
That is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of you guys being involved in making a difference. That's one of the things when I partnered with Linden last year, again, watching podcasts from Women's Council and then watching Linden's podcast. It was just interesting. But one of Linden's kind of his goal was for starting the difference was just to spotlight the local businesses, how you were making a difference in the community instead of just trying to tell your story. Become part of the community and get involved to make it better. So that's cool that Gateway has been involved, because I saw your post last week about I think it was the police that was doing the boxing camps.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was here, the local police department. He went out one day and was one of the cops went up on a bunch of kids. They were boxing, and he got out and they started giving him a hard time, and you can't box, whatever. And so he said, give me a pair of gloves. And he started boxing with him, but he used to actually box. And yes, so he's like, who's the toughest kid here? He started boxing. And so from that, our police department actually started now this boxing camp for the youth, because it teaches them discipline and respect. And
that's what we were kind of talking about last week. Lennon was a coach at one point in time, and I'm a avid football. I'm 49. I'm a Cowboy. My husband's 49ers. So, Cowboys and 49ers have a lot of history. So we've watched a few documentaries. And it was funny to see when Emmett was doing his interview, he credits his high school coach having, like a code or some rules or written in the locker room. And he said that was kind of the driving force, but it was the foundation for him in sports to, develop the disciplines in high school, then go on to college and then go on to pros. And then when they were interviewing his children, he says, you have to visualize. He says, so even his children now wrote goals. And that's kind of what they were laughing about, is because he always kept something on his mirror so that it was a visual for his goals and how he was to achieve, and how he used that discipline in sports, to take his life and, achieve what he did. So it's cool to see that. And it's cool to see it being paid forward in the community and giving communities opportunity that they necessarily wouldn't have to get involved, to make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is one of the other things that we're talking about currently in the market and kind of all some of this craziness? And I know there's been a lot of part of the conversation we had last week with the networks was just with the craziness. Where do you see the market going in 6 months to a year? Do you see it leveling off? Do you see it getting better, less crazy?
I'm not quite sure. I can say that I've seen more houses on the market in the past month than I've seen in quite a while when I drive through neighborhoods. But I think once they start foreclosing on the people that went into forbearance and cannot get caught up, we're going to see a lot more. We're going to see people that can't get caught up and they're going to sell their house to get out from under it. I think that is going to help. We just had a whole year of no evictions, no foreclosures, no. So we have not a lot of houses. So if the values continue to rise like they have been at the rate that they are, it will affect us a couple of years down the road significantly. We will have some sort of a crash like they did in California and Arizona, just because you cannot sustain that forever.
Yeah, that was one of the things too, because maybe it's maybe one of my traits when I did my first women's council survey or whatever, is like, I love numbers and stats. So I can say, coming from the hotel industry, I knew when I started back in hotel industry, well, I was regional and I traveled, but when I started back in North Texas back in 2016, did the research just to see what was driving the economy commercially. But then it's kind of been interesting since I've been on this side since 2018, as with the inspection as an affiliate. It's amazing to see the growth and the expansion where the houses are growing. But it's kind of interesting to see how, but they always said it's like cycles, it comes and it goes. But it's going to be, I'm curious to see, do you think that people will be able to have enough time to sell and not have, and then that way be able to get money to move forward? Or do you think they're going to be having to do it as a short sell?
I think it's going to depend on how quickly they make a decision on what they're going to do. Because, to do a foreclosure, you're looking at 4 to 6 months at least.
Yeah.
So, if they think about it and think, okay, this is probably our best bet, let's just do this. And then they have time. But then there are some people that are like, I'm not going to move until they make me.
We always have special people. I mean, what they think, so what's according to the world. So,
yeah. It'll be interesting to see how things pan out here.
But because that was one of the things that we're talking about, just how as Collin County grows and how, areas grow, and then versus looking, they were talking, Erica and Dora, they were talking about the Southwest Dallas, and then also to the Ellis County was talking about how that area is growing just because commercially they're more of a hub in attracting, some of those businesses because Dallas is so centrally located. But it's great to see that Dallas is growing, and Dallas still Texas continues to be one of only a handful of states that don't have the personal income tax. So
right.
it'll be interesting. And then I was talking with a new partner of ours. It is, I know it sounds crazy, but oh yeah, we're looking at our 5 to 7 year plan. And I'm like, okay, that just sounded odd to say when she was looking at her 5 to 7 year plan to become a master community. And of course, if it was up in Van Alstyne, I'm like, again, that just kind of blew my mind. But as you look at land, you look at McKinney, you look at Little Elm, you look at Frisco, Salina, all of that area just keeps growing because they anticipate Salina to be the next Frisco. So, what's your experience in helping people with mortgages getting into those areas?
Well, it kind of depends on your price point on what you're purchasing and where the houses are, but there are a lot. One thing that people that don't have a lot of down payment, but they have the income, there are down payment programs out there that, you can make $117,000 and still get down payment assistance to get into a house. So, I just think the newer communities, people are drawn to it. I think the younger generation, and then people that are older. So I think that, the older ones like the newer ones because they don't have to do anything. It's like, okay, I've already redone my house, and then the younger ones like it because they don't, it's modern and new. So I think you're going to see kind of those generations moving out to those new areas, whereas the ones that are in between, they kind of stay where they are, stay put, stay closer to town, things like that.
Well, that was one thing I know when we sold our house in 15. And it was funny because it's just like, yes, I had a beautiful, but I had 121 as my backyard. And my God, and I was a corner lot. I'm like 2,000 square feet. I mean, I know kitchen was always one of those things that we never got around to doing. And it was kind of interesting when we started looking, and this was the craziness when you had FedEx and Toyota and kind of that bubble, that increase. But you would look at homes. I'm like, okay, I knew I was in my house 13 years, so I know what that cost me. And then at the time that we were looking at houses older than ours, and you're like, okay, well, this is going to cost me X, Y, Z. And I know JC's husband is a builder, but that wasn't one thing. We actually went to David Weekley because it's just like, okay, let's go with new because this way we can get certain things. And my husband can cook you anything, but that was kind of the joke in our old neighborhood. The neighbors right across from us had the exact same floor plan. So I called him my rent-a-husband. So if I did anything like cut an orange cord or, something, he always joked that he learned on my house. So that's what he knew how to do on his house. But we didn't want projects and we wanted, locations, but it's interesting just to see as the Metroplex continues to grow, just to see where everything is expanding to and how some people are still going to be able to work virtually. And then some people, are slowly going back into the office. So it's a cool mix to see, but it's cool that you get to see a side and it's fun that you're able to help other just not residents here in Texas, but you can help here locally. So, and that way I'm going to let JC speak too, because one of the foundations of Women's Council is the referrals. And I know a couple weeks ago, I gave you a name for one of the girls in Florida. How do you go about if you have someone that's in Texas and that way you're trying to connect them to Florida? Is that something you do? And then is that something you could try to do through the radius system? Because I know I'll let JC speak to what she recently got a referral.
Yes, I had, when I signed back up with through Shannon, I went in and updated my profile, and there's a new radius program, and I filled everything out on there. And amazingly, it was in a couple of weeks, and a lady calls me from New Hampshire and says, I see you're an independent broker, and so am I. And I'm looking for someone similar to how I do business. And we talked, and she gave me a referral of a couple that was moving here from New Hampshire. And I sold them one of my husband's homes, and it was a spec. So they got to where they couldn't change a lot of things, but it was finished. It started in February, was finished at the end of June. And I closed a $600,000 house because of that referral through Radius, and I also made a friend through Women's Council. And when I called her to make sure she received her referral check, she goes, "Oh my gosh, you just reminded me, I need to renew my membership." So she renewed it while we were talking. And that was huge for me, because I told Shannon it was the best $189 I'd ever spent in my life to get that referral, for that. But I have a question for you, Adrienne. With all the multiple offers, just like Shannon was saying, there's such a big competition for everybody wants the same thing, right? The older people want new, the younger want new. Can you give us some tips that you've come across when we're writing the offers that will favor us? So maybe we'll win it.
So, you guys know how to write contracts. I mean, you know how to write the contracts. The one thing that I can tell you that when I work with my realtors a lot, what we do is the minute that they are getting ready to send an offer, they send me the listing agent's information.
Okay.
I call that agent immediately to let them know, one, a little bit about me if they haven't met me yet, a little bit about how, once we've started the process, we're going to keep them in the loop continuously on every step of the loan, just like we would the selling agent. So they're not sitting there wondering what's going on, and that the borrower is fully qualified and we have all documents and everything. So it really helps make it a strong, just kind of reaffirms when you send the offer, these are great clients, you tell the little story, but it's when they kind of hear it from us, and they sometimes will ask me questions, and I, to a certain degree, I can answer. They'll say, "Have you verified their funds?" Or if they've done an appraisal waiver, they'll ask me, "Do they have funds to go over? If not," and I'm allowed to say yes or no. I can't say what they have, but.
Right.
So I think I think having a partner that does the lending that works with you, I think that's tremendous, because we win a lot of deals.
That is amazing, because I had a listing that went on live last couple of weeks, and I had so many offers, and I had about only 3 mortgage people contact me, just like what you said. And it meant a lot, because it saved me time. I didn't have to reach out when they sent me a little video text or a video email or just a phone call. That really made a huge difference. And I could actually tell my seller, the lender called me right away. And that's great. I'm so glad that you do that. That means a lot. That helps. Helps.
It really, and I will get after I've worked with somebody who's on the listing side, I will end up working with that realtor down the road, usually, just because they're pleased how it all goes, So
yes.
That's one thing I can say again, when I was getting my house, yes, I was pre-qualified, but when it came down to it, underwriting, only one stood out. And that was definitely because if you can alleviate the stress, I mean, buying a house is a crazy experience, but then trying to get your finances, yada, yada, yada. And if you've got that calming anchor that's got you covered financially, it just settles you, and just kind of, know you're going to get on the other side, and in a few months you're going to be in this beautiful home. So would you have any words of wisdom that you would share with people that are trying to save up to get into their homes, or any tips that you could give?
That's good.
So I could give lots of words of wisdom on saving money, because I think if people that are trying to buy a home, because I have clients that sometimes I'll tell them, you know what, you've got to save more money. You're just going to have to, because, for example, they've been living with a friend or living with their parent and not paying rent, and then they want to buy a $300,000 house and have a $1,600 a month payment, and they've never made a mortgage payment. Well, that's payment shock. And underwriters don't like to see that. They have nothing in the bank, don't pay rent, and you're like, okay, so here's what you need to do. You need to save close to that mortgage payment every month for the next 3, 4, 5 months. to get yourself positioned. But, you know, I mean, it's pretty simple. I'll talk to clients a lot and tell them, you know, you need to sit back, you need to scale back, you know, don't go out to eat, cut your utilities, get rid of some of the cable stuff that you've got. I mean, it can be done. It can be done. And I had a client last week, I gave her this list of like 4 things to do. Within 24 hours, she'd done it all. She's like, I'm done. It's done. And I'm like, I love working with clients like that.
Okay, what were the 4 tips?
Well, she had to establish some credit. So I told her exactly what to do and how to do it. She had to pay down one account, and she had a collection account that needed to be paid, and she took care of it all. Yeah.
Those are winnable clients. Like if they listen and we do it every day, we know what they need, and they listen, it's so fast that they're can get into a house
Yes.
so much faster.
Yes. Yes. And I tell clients, you know, some people are like afraid to have you pull their credit. You know, they've had challenges in the past, or they have never had a challenge really, but for some reason they think it might not be good, you know. So I'll tell them, you know, here's the deal. We're going to pull your credit. We're going to look at your debt to income ratio. We're going to see where you are. And I'm either going to tell you, 1, you qualify and you get to buy a house now. Or I'm going to tell you, 2, you don't qualify, but here's what you're going to do. And in 6 to 12 months, you'll be able to buy the house you want. So either way, it's not bad news.
Right.
It's how you look at it.
Very good. Yeah, because I think that's the thing too. I think we in this society, especially as everything, they want things instant. But like you said, if they don't realize that they need to establish some credit history. They need to get some payment history. And I think, you know, there's pros and cons, but when you have someone in your corner coaching you and telling you what you need to do, and then they're your cheerleader because they're going to get you into that house, that is just a peace of mind, because you don't have to stress that if you've given, okay, Adrienne told me to do XYZ and I've done XYZ and I have set of money, and then I know she's going to be, you know, the calm source. And then that way, you know, in a few months, I'm going to be on the other side in a pretty nice house. And, you know, maybe Adrienne gets to come over and we have some glasses of champagne or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my goodness. And nowadays, a mortgage payment is much cheaper than rent. I mean, come on, rent has gotten unreal. So,
Yes, for sure. So I was looking for a referral from WCR for a realtor in Florida that you sent me. And my niece is moving there. Well, she can't buy currently. She just went through a divorce. But my thought was, well, maybe I could buy an investment. She could rent from me. It's going to be cheaper than her renting from someone else, you know, depending on how their market is and what it's doing. And if not, then she could at least maybe help her find a rental. So we called and had a conversation with the realtor. It was very nice. She was very sweet. And so they're working on stuff.
awesome. See?
Well, that's the beauty of, I mean, Women's Council. I mean, I've been blessed. Again, I started as an affiliate, you know, tapped on my shoulder. Adrienne, you know, when I met her 2.5 years ago, I would have never thought this would be the journey, but that's the beauty. Women's Council is a sisterhood, and we do have gentlemen. So we do have we have a few gentlemen that have recently joined and getting active. But, and I can say this, being as a new realtor, and I'm watching some of these orientation calls, and I watch some of these people. There's, I mean, kind of so green. And that's the beauty. I joke is like, I've got the backwards education by being involved in Women's Council and by being as an affiliate and seeing the true side. And that way seeing affiliates work, seeing how you develop your partnerships. But it is really cool to know it takes a village. And that's one of the things about Women's Council. Yeah, we're going to teach your leadership, your education. The referrals are a big thing, and networking, because like she said, as you network, you know, you grew a friend in Florida now. JC has a friend in New Hampshire. But that's the beauty. I mean, if we can just share and just make something be a little bit better, because, you know, life is crazy right now, especially the past couple of years. So what can we do to make it a little bit better and to pay it forward? And Women's Council, for me, opened doors that I never possibly thought would be open. And I'm very blessed by both of your friendships. And, you know, but that's the cool part. it leads you to journeys that you necessarily wouldn't have thought. So
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. And this is what I was joking about somebody when I was doing some interview prep. So I can't remember if it was Barbara Walters or Oprah, but she goes back and she asks that question. What would you tell from the lessons learned in life? What would you go back and tell your younger self?
Oh, don't sweat the small stuff. Don't take advice from anyone you wouldn't trade places with. And what people let you see is not always reality. So do not covet what they have because you don't know their journey.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice. Can I go back and take that with me and start over? I wouldn't want to start over. Trust me.
We start over every day that we get up and get out of bed.
That is so true.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
Well, that way, girlfriend, you're starting over. If you're like got your motorcycle, you got your classic car, and your flying lesson. So maybe we'll just next time, one of your next adventures, we'll all gather in the parking lot with our adult cocktail, and we'll watch you and live vicariously through you. How's that?
Yeah, I was thinking what we really need to do is maybe do. We need to go to a shooting range, and
yeah,
that would be a fun event for Women's Council. I mean, I don't know if you shoot.
Yes.
It's always fun to go shooting.
Now, Shannon, as a realtor, you need to get your CHO and PAC and all that. That's just a rite of passage.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. I learned one thing about Ms. Adrian. We're both on MetroTech's affiliate committee, and we did this little game of 10 things. Adrian, why don't you explain how you just like blew us all out of the water because you had all your stuff?
Well, I don't even remember. I just remember they kept saying, do you have this and this? And I'm like, yeah, I got it right here. It's just like, I'm just really organized, and I just have what I need. I mean, I in my car, I have, if I got stranded, I've got a mirror in there that I can flash somebody down. I have just got a lot of that stuff.
Explain the mirror tidbit to everyone so they know.
So if you are stranded on an island, if you are broken down in your car, people are like, you need this, you need this. You need a mirror, because a mirror, you can use the sun to reflect when people are flying over looking for you. So, and not just a compact, like I've got a round mirror that goes, it's in my car that I could use. And I have one that I carry in my purse, but you can also use that to start a fire if you're stranded. I mean, yeah, so I just, I'm from the North. I was born in Minnesota. I grew up between there and Buffalo, New York. I'm used to cold weather. When we had the storms back in February, I had no electricity for 5 days, and I stayed at my home.
Wow.
So what did you do to stay warm?
So I have a gas fireplace. So it was 40. It got up to 42 degrees if I sat in front of the fireplace, and I have a gas stovetop. So I was able to boil water for coffee. I even made coffee for my neighbors. And I could, I mean, I had wine, and I had a shrimp dinner by candlelight in front of my fireplace one day, So, in my car, I carry things, if you grow up in the North, you have to carry a blanket. I mean, there's certain things you always have in your vehicle in case you get stuck on the side of the road because you went off or something, or just because the road's so icy you can't patch. So yes. I've always been a survivalist, I guess.
So she had all 10 things in her purse. It was one of those things.
Well, yeah, because we started out with what was it for your office, and I think that what was your kitchen. But then when she was giving us the tips, and we're like going, okay, we're going to take Adrian to the island or wherever with us because she's going to be prepared and she's going to have us covered. So that was the beauty. So we learned, but yes, definitely we'll have to kind of put that little tidbit as we need a bonding experience to get rid of some of the craziness over the past couple of years. So.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
For sure.
So in closing, is there anything that you want our listeners or our clients to know or to reach out to you?
So, pretty much, I've been doing this for 22 years. So whether you have a client you're going to refer to me, or you have a client that's working with someone else and you come across an issue or you have a problem, you are always welcome to call me. I can help guide you. I can maybe ask questions that maybe you guys haven't thought about, because I try to think out of the box. I like to think of ways to make things work as opposed to saying they can't work. And so I'm always here to answer questions and help in any way I can.
So,
Yeah.
well, we're so thankful that you have been a partner and with Women's Council, and then you tapped me and got me involved in Women's Council, and it's definitely a trickle down. So, Ms. JC, any final thoughts for the day?
I am just thrilled to have the opportunity to get to know Adrienne. I will definitely keep her information because she's in the sisterhood and I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing her with us. I really appreciate you bringing her on.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. I appreciate the opportunity.
So thank you guys so much. And then that way we will have this it's recorded, and then that way I'll share the links with everybody. But Adrienne's information's online. So thank you guys so much and have an awesome week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye guys. Have a good afternoon.